So we have some heavier ones, and I'm going to put those on the side. We could make it with a frame first, or we could put a frame on afterward. So this one here, if you look at the bottom, so the sticks that we start with go around the frame. So this started with a frame first. And so you have to soak your willow so that when you bring it around the back, it doesn't crack. And then you have to catch its tail in the back there so that it stays put. So I start out with a loop, and you always have one back and one forward. And if you feel the willow, you have one that's round and one that is flat. I don't know if you could see it or not, but this side is shinier. So this is what we call the top. And this side is flat. And so this is the back part. This is where we took the core out of. So when you're weaving, when you're doing the front of your basket, then you always have the top part up. We first start out with the front side up, and then the second piece we're going to have to do a half flippy to make sure that both sides are up. So you always have kind of this look. And then your second one will go here. And then this is gonna come down. And this is where we do that half flip so that this second willow thread is on top. And everyone has their different styles of doing things, how they work on stuff. A lot of times I like to lay this down on the table, but that's all you're doing. So you see that this is called a basic twine. So you're twining around the basket. And it's important to keep your thread wet, because if your thread gets too dry, then it'll crack. Okay, so there's my first row, and you see that it's shiny on top, so I know that both pieces, both threads were top up. And most people can turn around and go back this way, but I'm still working on that. And so I'll flip it over and go back this way. Do you work backward? So I can't.
Well, I've tried both ways.
Yeah, I struggle with going backwards.
Yeah, it's hard because you got to use your left hand.
I'll flip it over like this and always go forward. The key here is, again, you have to do that flip, that half flip. Now that you're on the back side, you have to have the back side of your willow showing. And so there's my little half flip. Once you have at least 2 rows, I'm only going to do 2 rows. The other ones, you know, there's usually more rows that they will put in. So then we do what's called our add-ins, and with that, I scrape it down, and so we start adding in our pieces. So now we're on the front side, so now we talk about having our tools. That I always have a lot of knives, and then I have different awls that are made out of different things. So with bigger projects, I use a deer antler or a metal awl. It really doesn't really matter. And so we're going to go ahead and add, and we make a little pathway with our awl, and then we just slide our our new stick in there. That, just snug it up. Make sure your front side is up. Everyone has their different styles. Some of their people's points, they'll do it like a pencil being sharpened. I like mine just sharp on one side so I could slide it. But see how when it's thinner, I can get it to get into a smaller space. So I need it to be thinner for that purpose. And so now you've seen we go all the way across, flip it over, and work on the back side, and then adding. So there's 3 skills right there that are being shown. You just work it so that it can all lay flat. And one of the things that that some people are very picky about, that we make our own thread and use our own thread. And it's because when we're working with the willow, we're putting our energy into that plant from the get-go. Oh, and then also we put it in our mouth and split it and core it. And so it literally has our DNA on it as well. So we tend to not share our thread willow, although, you know, some people don't mind. But the old people would say, you know, they wouldn't accept it if you was trying to gift them thread willow, because it was in your mouth. It became very personalized. And so even today, some people won't accept your thread. You use your own thread. And that's why I really stress to students for them to be able to make their own thread. You'll start to see how this is coming inward, and then I'll stick it on the frame. And we were looking around for, you know, I'm used to having round rocks and be able to just go anywhere and find rocks to help me shape the basket. But here we have different country, we have different rocks. So here they have flat, sharp edged rocks, and we're not able to use that. So we're going to shape the basket with things that we found around here. So this is dogwood that he's making the frame out of, but you could leave the bark on, like this first basket here. It also adds little color to your basket. It just depends on how much time you have to work on your baskets. And because some people will say, well, how long did it take you to do that? Well, just the weaving part is different. It takes a long time to get your material ready. The worst part is to start weaving and run out of material. Make sure that you have everything that you need before you start. We're going to attach this to the frame, and when I'm working with my basket, I usually shape it as I go instead of waiting until the very end.
And sometimes people have their top more at a flat from this point to this point, like so. When they do their baskets and their winnowing basket. So it's different shapes. People have their own style of forming how they make it.
And even when they're weaving, everyone has a different way of holding their basket.
And also when you make your frames, they're usually dry. You dry them out in the shape that you want it. Weaved it into it, the shape that she's got the frame built.
It takes time. And so you could see that it's a long process. I got to add here, and this, I'm on the back side, so let me just put them together. I always tuck my tails into the back side. So our frame is ready. And usually I wait until I'm done to attach it, but we're gonna go ahead and see how it works to attach it now so I can start to shape it.
Yeah, there you go, see?
All right, you wanna start tying it down on that side and I'll start doing this side. Alan's style will be on that side and my style will be on this side. And that's how it'll work out. So then we're going to put weight on it and start shaping it. But usually this will be tied off with red bud, which it has the skin left on it, the red bud does, and so it's stronger than a scraped willow like this. So I like to do my sides with the red bud for that added strength. And there's people that are always finding or looking for ways to make it easier.
Yeah.
We've seen people bring all kinds of tools and things.
For splitting?
Yeah. For splitting, there's a wooden tool that people have been using, and it's actually pretty neat. They start at the bottom, and it kind of looks like that you put your lemon on and go like that juicer. So that tool goes into the willow and it splits it into thirds for them. So the next step after this is to we're gonna break these down, fold it over, and then tie it down. We're gonna put something heavy in here, and it's gonna go like that. So now that the frame is attached to the basket, you don't want to cut these right away up on top because you don't know how much it's going to dip down. So so then you're just forming it to your frame and kind of shaping as you go.
Usually you leave it like that and put a weight on it. Leave it overnight, and in the morning they'll have your little curve to your work.
So you could see that if you had a round, heavy rock, how that round rock would really shape this. It has a little weight. This has some weight on it though. And then I'd probably tie the top inward. So then we let it dry so that it can hold its shape. And then once it's shaped, then that's when we will break off the top sticks, and then we'll fold them back like you see here. They get folded back, and then you're good to go. You'll have your basket. You see that it's dipping, and so this big round piece on the bottom is really helping it to take its form.